Okay, we are live. Hello, Simonetta.
Hi, Greg.
Okay, we are struggling through the first use of this technology. I will get the PowerPoint up. Okay. And today we are talking about product leadership. This probably applies to most leadership, though. In times of disruption. So Zimonetta and I have been speaking for a few months, and we see a lot of disruptive forces converging. So we would like to give a foundation, the things we're thinking of, and we are looking for leaders to engage with to help us understand this, to validate some of our thinking. So, what have we noticed lately? And in some cases throughout our career, most product leaders, most leaders in general, get promoted with very little development. Usually they're good individual contributors. The organization has a pressing need. You get made a manager, and they just assume you will be good, which is not a good assumption. We've all heard about the difference between leadership and management. Management is the formal part. It's the part that you do on behalf of the organization. Leadership is what you have to do with your team. And we both coach and talk to leaders all the time who just feel overwhelmed, partially because they've never been given a holistic model to think about what they do. The rest of it is it's just culture in most organizations. A lot of the stress falls on leaders. And we believe that people need a practical model and they need to acknowledge that the times are changing. And we see this as kind of a perfect storm. AI and especially generative AI are really shaking things up. And it is June of 25, and the pace of that disruption is just going to pick up. The expectation of employees based on different generations is changing. There's more emphasis on things like sustainability. We hear more about diversity, psychological safety. So the expectations of managers in general are moving up, and these forces are making it increasingly difficult to be a manager. A lot of balls that you have to keep in the air. So the implication of all these changes coming together is that the status quo won't work anymore the way we've managed in the past, where all our employees were human, for example, uh, where everybody was located in the office, people tend to look like each other. It's changing. Uh, Also, leadership has never required as much adaptability. You've never needed to be more human centric. With the rise of Gen AI, you've probably read that as computers get better at being computers, people need to get better at being people, and that's causing pressure. And we believe strongly that the people who will be most effective tomorrow are the ones who start preparing themselves today. The worst thing you can do is just sit back and hope all this stuff blows over. We don't believe it will. Okay. And one of the things we've done, this presentation isn't about this framework, but in product circles, we use jobs to be done regularly. And that framework uses that term tongue in cheek to say, hey, a product has a job, and you should think of it that way. Well, it's evolved into a framework that's a great way to really just describe a real job. So to make it approachable, what we've done is we've narrowed it down to just two key jobs. There are two things you have to do as a leader. You have to ensure that there's a definition of success that's about making strategy and goals, working with the team to define those things, socializing them. And then you've got to facilitate achievement of those goals, of that success. And it almost sounds silly. It's so simple. But so far, every leadership task we can think of falls into this framework, and it is comprehensive, but also simplifying. So you can see in the diagram, we decompose these big jobs into sub-jobs, and those get decomposed further into what we call activities. But again, the goal is to make leadership, which seems really amorphous, make it approachable and give you a framework to think of. And we have another kind of lens that we look at this stuff that you'll see in a moment. Simonetta?
Yeah, so we've been thinking about what great leadership actually looks like and taking these two core jobs that we need to do and breaking it down a little bit differently. This is about aligning teams on outcomes and actually being very clear what the success is that we want to lead towards. It also is about building accountability and psychological safety as like key pillars of a high-performing team. It is about, as leaders, having the skill set to coach, develop, and empower our teams. And it is about the systems that make all of this happen, operationalizing them and not using them as supervision, but really making sure that there is a well thought system that supports success of the entire team. We also thought about like, how is AI changing the way we need to think about our job as product leaders? And we believe that there are some things that stay, some things that evolve, and some things that become new skill sets that we have to focus on. What we really strongly believe will stay is accountability for delivering user and business value. That's always been the core of what product management is. And this is not going to change. How we go about this will, but that we are accountable for it won't. As we already mentioned, one of the main jobs is setting clear direction, defining success. So vision, strategy, goal making will stay as part of any product leadership role, like building and developing effective teams, coaching and mentoring team members, and focusing on core product and leadership principles like ship fast and often and have an eye on business impact and revenue creation with your teams. But there's obviously things that will evolve, right? If there is AI in the fold, and we believe strongly it will not go away, it will actually integrate itself deeper in the way we lead our teams. Then we have to think about integrating AI into decision making and execution. There will be changes in how we measure performance expectations that are based in these new skills and based in these new tools. What we have seen happen in the last years is remote and hybrid teams will not go away. So anything that we need to do to be a more effective leader in this kind of a context will continue to be important, as we'll be relying on more evidence-driven and distributed decision-making. And I think AI has some real advantages here that we can tap in as opportunities. What might also happen is that we may have to defend users from AI abuse and fraud, that other platforms are potentially trying to interfere in our product offering in some way that we don't want. So having an eye on these kind of things and managing through it will be something that is evolving and starts to become more important. And there's going to be really new things, new skills that we have to learn, start to lead, start to measure performance on, like the use of AI to automate knowledge work and repetitive tasks. That's like where AI is actually excellent. Any kind of data analytics function, those would be like very good things to use AI to our advantage with. We also believe that leadership responsibilities for ethical AI and machine learning operations is going to be something that leaders will have to learn, understand, and manage. What does it mean to have a trustworthy AI system? How do we have a human in the loop? How do we create fairness? How do we create non-discrimination and these kind of things? What also is going to happen is we are going to have virtual team members or virtual functions in our teams. And so how do we think about how this works together in our teams is going to be radically new and changing, and meaning that we have to start thinking about orchestrating human and AI collaboration in a good fashion. And at the core of all of this is like a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change, a lot of continuous adaptation and new thinking and learning is needed. And that means a continuous focus on failure culture and playfulness and exploration and just getting started. So this is kind of like the bigger landscape of what we're seeing happen in the field. And distilling out of this, we thought about some critical skills that are needed in this new world. Right, if you could go to the next
Yeah,
slide.
sure.
So things that we as leaders have to really nurture, foster, and develop in our teams is critical thinking skills, because everything we're doing with AI requires us to think about what this is, what the intended outcome should be, what a good outcome should be, and being capable to think about this and work it into an eval and working it into a process flow. It means that we have to have a very good grasp of product success principles, like ship fast enough and then have an eye on business impact and customer value. It means we have an ethical and values framework that we can test against and ensure that our AI product development does not violate, does not create compliance risk and things like this. We will keep having to be very clear on direction, even though our bets might be updating and changing very often, that we adapt to something that happens in the market. But this clarity of direction is super important for us. What has always been important, but I think we think that will continue to be crucial, is commercial skills and metrics, understanding what does it even cost to run an AI system and or an AI workflow, and is there a cheaper, more reliable, simple solution to something that could be deployed? Not every problem should get solved with AI, being strategic and commercial minded on when it makes sense and when it doesn't. And underlying all of this, as we're dealing with these probabilistic systems, there's always a chance that a Gen AI tool will get stuff wrong. So how do we deal with where it gets wrong? How do we deal with the potential loss in trust from our customers as things might have gone wrong in an unintentional way? So being very clear on what this takes, how we communicate this in our UI with labels that you're dealing with an AI bot, not with a human being, and things like this, will be required to intentionally keep building trust and maintaining trust with our buyers and our teams. And I'm handing back to you, Greg, for some further thoughts.
Okay.
You're muted.
So there is a lot to think about, and we will elaborate these things, in the coming weeks. What can you do immediately? What should you be focused on if you're a leader or if you're an aspiring leader? You need to think about your own professional development and your team's development. You're going to have to look at these things place your own bets about what is going to change, what is going to be new, and start giving them the skills and knowledge they need to do those things. You should be educating your leadership. They may not really get the implications. They are busy with a lot of things. So you should be an agent in there contributing. So for your team, for your product, for your organization, the strategy should take AI into account. You should think about what success looks like, how you plan to achieve it, and how AI can help you do that, and how AI is shaping the environment in which, the market you serve. People are getting smarter. Consumers are getting much smarter. There is likely to be a lot more competition. So taking AI into account strategically. And I would say job one is just thinking about what you're doing now and thinking about how these forces that we enumerated are going to impact you. Do not sit back. This is not going to be business as usual. So it's time to get mentally active and place your bets about what's going to happen. Hopefully we can inform that a bit and starting to move you and your team in the right direction. So it's here. You need to think holistically. There may be corners of leadership that you haven't visited in a while. We'll make this model available so you can think, what should I be doing? What am I doing? What should I be doing? And what am I expected to be doing? And we would love for you to engage with us. We want to have discussions. We want to talk to people who are going through this change. And we are building a community of people who are interested in exploring that together, growing together. So we're throwing a site up and there's a blog. You can see the URL there. Please reach out to us on LinkedIn. We would love to connect and talk that way. This talk is going live in a Facebook group. I know that seems weird. Why would you have a leadership group in Facebook? Long story, but it's there. There are almost 300 people there, other product leaders. So think about joining that and please get involved. Help us chart this, a path through these disruptive times.
Okay. 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 Okay.
All right. Anything else, Simonetta?
Okay. 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 Okay.
I can't hear you now. I think you're muted.
Okay. Okay.
I have nothing to add. I would just reiterate what Greg just said, that we are looking to engage with you in conversation. We want to speak with you about what you're seeing, what your challenges really are, so we can all learn from each other and make this a joint learning experience. I think we're all starting this relatively new, with the rare exception of some product people who've been building AI products for a while, but most of us are learning as we go. And we want to share with you what we are seeing, what we are finding as golden nuggets of wisdom that helps leaders make sense of this new world and lead with clarity and purpose and towards success.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thanks, Simonetta. Thanks, everybody.